It is time for the only sports podcast, Power Rankings. That's spooky.
Wow.
And then the Happy Halloween gets put in there to fuck it up. But yeah, it's time for our only sports Power Rankings Casino.
How long did that take you to do?
Just wait. It is time for our Power Rankings now. Casino's number 10. Oh, wait, I gotta. You have the Eagles. We're just diving right into it, Casino. I
love it.
But go on, Casino. You have number 10. Also, if you're watching only audio version this week, you're going to be less spooked because it's very spooky. The images we're seeing here. But Casino, for your number 10, you have my Philadelphia Eagles. Why?
Because I liked what Saquon Barkley did last week. You talked about you got your main players back. There's honestly 10 through like 17 to me are all the same team, personally. So I'm just gonna throw it. I like what Barkley did. I still think this team, with that win, I think they're going to be solid enough to be 10. Like, that's honestly all I got. The emergence of Saquon Barkley with that game against a decent defense, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and
that's all I got.
I do not have them on my list.
I know you don't.
I still need to see one more week from them.
You have Seahawks.
We'll see. Next up, Casino, your number 9 on the list. It is the Houston Texans.
Yes, it is the Houston Texans, because we alluded to it in multiple weeks leading up to this. They are slightly off. There's something wrong. Last week was CJ Stroud's worst game that he's ever had. He did get sacked 4 times. He only had 89 yards or whatever it was. It's not good. But that's his offensive line. His offensive line let him down. They were banged up. That was a tough game. They were still able to get no, they lost. Right. They lost. So I was thinking of a different week. But I'm not worried about it. All in all, they're still in the top 10. They're still a good team. It's just every week they just feel like they need to show me more. And that's what I'm waiting for. I don't think last week was a bad week for the team or for CJ Stroud, but it was for the team. Sorry, I'm getting all my things crossed. But yeah, we'll be okay. They'll be okay. I need to see more. I need to see more, but they're okay.
I do think this week, Colts at Texans, I do think it's a bit of a trap game. I am a little scared for the Texans just this week specifically. But your number 8 team, Casino, will make one of our viewers definitely happy because you're finally giving them the respect they deserve. And that is the Steelers. Oh no, Casino. The NFL logos are haunted. They're
spinning.
Possessed. They're possessed by an entity. Okay, go on.
Wow. I mean, no, that's pretty good. I like that. That's. I mean, it's a wheel. It's doing its thing. All right. Well, Steelers.
Yeah.
You can't. Ah, man. With the Steelers, I want to hate on them so much, and I want.
We know on this podcast.
I do.
We know.
But here's the thing: it's because I want them to be better. You know, I get what Steelers fans talk about, and I know I've defended their coach many times, but at this point, are they ever going to just not have a winning season? I mean, are they super elite? No. I mean, did Russell have a good second half? Yeah, to start the game, he was really awful. Like his percentage was really, really garbage, and then he got it going. So we'll see how that goes. They still got the W. They're 5-2. Yeah, I just can't.
Steelers right now 8th in the league in total.
So roughing.
It's.
But sorry, as you guys can tell, I'm a little tired. I'm trying to get my words put together here. I know what I want to say up here in the brain.
I sense no different from any other episode. But I will give credit to the Steelers defense, number 8th in the league, but also sneaky good defense this year. Eagles, number 9. So your 10th pick. Looking pretty good, Casino. Next up, your beloved. I will say, with the Patriots being this bad this season, I do think this is your team this season, and that is the Washington Commanders.
Yes, the Washington Commanders. They are 5-2. We had them losing last week, but or 2 weeks ago. Gosh darn, man, I'm all over the place. They did win last week, even with Marcus Mariota. But I'm like 1 week ahead.
Yeah.
I forgot about last week, apparently. Anyway, with the Commanders, I'm worried with I know Jaden Daniels, he's not going to be clear to play. He hasn't been playing or going to practice, this and that. They're going to give him another week. So Marcus Mariota is going to go up against Chicago. That does worry me. And if Jaden Daniels comes back and takes another big hit, you've talked about it all season, that's what scares you. If he takes another big hit, which this one was to the ribs, we'll see that, that's continuous trauma in the same spot. That's going to slow a quarterback down over the course of the season. Yeah. This game I am worried about for the Commanders. The Bears are actually favored in this. So I know we'll get into the picks here, but with the power rankings, I have them there because I'm worried about Jaden Daniels getting hurt.
Well, the Bears are probably favored in this game because Daniels isn't playing it.
Correct.
Right? Yes. Okay. Correct. So that's a little less sketch.
True, but I mean, and then with all the other teams coming up, I just couldn't. I couldn't put the Commanders any higher than all the rest of the 6 teams that are coming up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's go, Casino, to number 6, and that is
the Buffalo
Bills.
Ooh, oh man, they're see-through.
They're spooky.
They're spooky. Buffalo Bills. You were concerned that Josh Allen had to do a lot by himself. Well, Amari Cooper's in. He looks good coming in. Just give him time with this offense, and you give Josh Allen somebody to throw to since they've lost Diggs. I think it's going to work. I think Amari Cooper is going to fit with this system well. I know Cooper can, be somewhat of a distraction sometimes, especially, coming from Dallas and those teams. But I do think that this is going to fit. This is going to help out Josh Allen. This is only going to make them better. And I think a 6 is a safe spot for them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that is a good, good space for them, especially they've played some weird games. And we talked about it last episode where they're only losing to bad teams, or they're only beating bad teams, only losing to good teams, which is always my concern. Next up, Casino, we have, if I can find it, we have your number 5 team, the spooky Green Bay Packers.
I like him. Jordan Love is playing well. This team is young. They're feisty. Their defense is really nice. I was concerned with him coming back and seeing if he was going to still be able to play well, even with Malik Willis, getting a few victories there. I was concerned with Love coming back, but he seems to be legit. He seems to be the quarterback for that franchise. They finally got it right. I mean, when I say they finally got it right, they've always gotten it right. However, he seems normal, I guess. But they did it again. I think the money was a little too much still for me. You know how my feelings are on that. However, I do think 6 is a great spot for them. I like their defense. Their offense is very feisty, especially with their running back. Why am I blanking on his name?
Josh
Jacobs. Jinx. Spooky Jinx. So I do like this team, and I think 5 is a good spot for him because these next 4, I think, are the 4 teams that have the best shot of winning the Super Bowl.
Also, it's Jinkies Casino because spooky, Scooby-Doo, Halloween. You missed a wide open layup right there.
I did.
But also, Jordan Love, like 3 weeks ago, his completion percentage was around like 50. Now, with 3 good games under his belt in a row, it shot all the way up to almost 62%. So the one question mark we had was, what happened to his accuracy. Well, it looks like whatever that was all injury related, because now it looks like he's finally back to what we saw at the end of the year. So, yeah. Also 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not bad. Next up, Casino, your number 4, same division, NFC North. You have the spooky Minnesota Vikings.
I do have the Minnesota Vikings. This team, they're getting somebody back this week that they need, which is TJ Hawkinson.
Oh,
That's only gonna add to Sam Darnold. Um, this is gonna be a great addition to this team. This is just gonna make this team better. I mean, hell, if they had him against the Lions, that could have easily gone there in their favor. Um, this team's only going to get better from here on out because I've been telling you that's a massive weapon, security blanket. You know, he's a big target. Just put it in that vicinity, and majority of the time, Hawkinson's going to pull that down or at least bat it down. You know, not let the interception happen.
yeah.
So huge for this team. And then there's also talks that Adam Thielen at the trade deadline might be leaving the Panthers and going back to the purple and going back to the Vikings. And if that happens, I know Thielen hasn't really shown much, but I mean, how can you when you've been in, you know, fucking uh, Panthers?
Panthers, Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Carolina Panthers. So I mean, hell, you get Hawkinson back, you get Thielen at the deadline. That's just adding 2 more weapons to Sam Darnold. Like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, even if Thielen comes in and he's like your number 3, you know,
That's true.
I'd much rather have him. I'd much
Well,
rather have him than not have him.
what have you thought about this weird rumor that's been circulating around that there is a potential Sam Darnold for Matthew Stafford trade in the works right now?
So Stafford's going to be gone. Like Stafford is going to be leaving the Rams, and that mainly has to do with salary cap
Hmm.
issues.
Yeah,
And because they're going to be on a rebuild, and so it's just going to hurt them to keep Stafford around when they have to fill in all these other pieces. So basically, you're going to be paying this quarterback, and you're not going to be going anywhere. So you might as well get rid of him. This is their logic. Just get rid of him. You know, get the great picks for him. Build another team. You know, you won the Super Bowl. You did what you need to do. Now move off of him. Move off of
yeah,
him, get some picks for him while he's still relevant, and you know because you're gonna have to you have to rebuild all your other pieces. So
yeah,
that's talks about him leaving. Wherever he goes, he goes. Um, but I mean, hell, you throw Stafford in here, you know
yeah.
that would be crazy though because going to the Vikings, you know your old rival, that would
Dude,
be
if
nuts.
if he's the reason the Lions don't make it to a Super Bowl when they've had the best chance probably this year and last year to make it to a Super Bowl, uh, that
I
would
will tell you right
be a
now,
double-edged sword.
if Stafford and Thielen both at trade deadline end up in Minnesota, how can you not say they're not going to, be a Super Bowl favorite, or
Yeah,
like even over the Chiefs? Like you're just adding 2 dynamic weapons. I mean, Adam Thielen, old dynamic, but still.
yeah, and I mean, really, when you look at the potential teams that, like, need a quarterback that are contenders now, there's really not any. Like,
Mm-mm.
every good team that's a contender right now pretty much has their
They
quarterback.
have their quarterback.
And I mean, the Vikings, we like what we've seen with Sam Darnold, but because it is Halloween, when do we think he turns back into a pumpkin? Or do we just think he's just great now forever? Like, I really like Sam Darnold, but again, if he has a great season, I still wouldn't be like, now we're giving him 5 years, $250 million. Like, there's no fucking way.
Well, we didn't think that there was going to be a way where Jordan Love got paid for half
Yeah,
a season.
yeah, but we talked about that. Neither of us would have done that. Like, neither of us would have.
Doesn't matter. Things like that are happening in this
Yeah.
in this NHL, in this NFL.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so things like that happen. Anyway, so this team is legit, and they're only going to get better.
Well, and we just mentioned them, Casino. Your number 3 team is the Detroit Lions.
That was the win. That was the win they needed was against the Vikings to
Yeah,
show me that they're ready. So that grit that Jared Goff came back and got his team back into field goal range for at the end of that game, outstanding. Like Dan Campbell, just call a better game. Just make sure you don't fuck it up at the end, and the Super Bowl could be yours, man. Like you'll be facing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody wanted to see them there last year. I myself think they could have beaten that Chiefs team last year.
I think they would have beat. I think they would have beaten that Chiefs team.
Yeah, I do as well. The only thing that concerns me with them, especially being this high, because I think they might be 3 on my list as well, is just their defense, number 18th in the league.
Right. We'll see what they do. There's talks about them picking up players around the league. We'll see. Like one being Uchi, from the Pats. We'll see if that happens. There's players out there for them that are on the free agency block for them to pick up. Are they going to be the guy they just lost, Adrian?
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson. Thank you, man. Woo! All over the place. But they will never be to his caliber because he was in line for defensive player of the year to that point. So we'll see. They're definitely going to make some moves. I think they would be insane not to make some defensive moves coming here, especially since they are a Super Bowl contender.
Also, I feel like the most obvious destination and pickup and trade of all time before the trade deadline approaches is get Crosby from the Raiders, put him on this Lions team to replace for Hutchinson. Next year when Hutch comes back, you have one of them on each end.
Crosby is another one there. Yep.
Yeah, totally. That just seems like a no-brainer pick. Next up, Casino, we are down to your final 2 on the power rankings. And of course, it is, quote, the Ravens, nevermore. Your number 2 pick. Talk to us.
They have the best rushing in the league. They are a top tier offense. Their defense is looking pretty dang good as well. I like this team, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the Chiefs are the Chiefs, that they are undefeated, that they have the refs on their side, it's true. We all know it. Let's just not kid around ourselves anymore. With that aside, I would say that I think the Ravens are the best team, but in power rankings, you have to put the undefeated Chiefs first. You have to. Even with Mahomes' MVP, non-MVP season that he's having, but apparently MVP season just because he's undefeated. Like you can't put them away. That defense is really, really good. That defense is outstanding. And now with them getting D-Hop, I mean, we'll just kind of put them together here. Going to the Chiefs as my number 1, do the little thingy. Chiefs number 1. Adding D-Hop is it's another player, wide receiver 2, somewhere in that realm. Like it's going to be very tough for any team to beat this team, especially in the regular season when they have cupcakes for the rest of the year outside of like 2 games.
Yeah. Right now, the Chiefs have the 10th overall defense in the league. I personally think they're better than that. You can throw on them, but you can't run on them at all. They have the 4th best running defense in the league. And so that would be, I think, the way to beat the Chiefs, if there is a way, is you have to have an elite offense and a defense that is comparable to them. Right. So right now, if we are looking at the top 10 defenses in the league, let's just go AFC. Titans, they don't have a stellar offense at all. Texans would be number 2. We made the case last week that Texans really do feel like the only team that left that can beat the Chiefs, and we'll see them play later in the season. And then after that, I mean, it's Broncos. I don't think their offense is dynamic enough, but we'll see them play the Chiefs twice this year. Dolphins. Obviously, with all the Tua stuff, I don't think their offense is nearly as good as it has been the past couple of years. And then the other 3 teams are Jets, Chargers, Steelers. Chargers, we saw just lose a 10-point lead to the, or I think it was it was a 10-point lead to the Chiefs and get their hearts ripped out. So Chargers, I think, are out. Jets, we'll see if their offense finally clicks with Davante Adams, but I don't think so. And then Steelers, I really do feel like Steelers and Texans are the wild cards in the AFC that can officially end this Chiefs three-peat dream. Thoughts on that, Casino?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Honestly, I mean,
yeah, buddy. Or because it's Halloween, a nail through the head.
Yep.
And we move on. And now it is time for my power rankings, Casino. And I already threatened you with this. And you know what? Looking at the teams, I did it because it is, in fact, the Seahawks and the Broncos at number 10.
Doubling it up.
I'm doubling it up at number 10.
You want to see something really spooky?
Yes.
Drinking out of the carton.
Apple juice. That's weird. But Casino, we have for my power rankings at number 10, I have both the Broncos and the Seahawks at number 10. I don't understand why I got so much shit for the Seahawks. They started the season 4-0, lost they started the season
because are the Seahawks good, or is it Geno Smith can just fling the ball?
Yes, I think the Seahawks are good. Again, with most teams on this list, it's all about defense. They have the 21st ranked defense in the league right now. But however, Geno Smith is really good. I like their offense, especially it looks like DK Metcalf won't miss, like he didn't tear an ACL or anything like that. So it looks like he'll be back for this season. He might miss a game or two, but I like their offensive identity. I like their offensive weapons. I think, again, their defense was the worst in the league last year, and now they're around the 20s. So they've gotten a better defense. Their offense is dynamic. Geno Smith right now is leading the league in passing. And again, how many Seahawks games have you and I watched where we both go walking away from that game going like, man, Geno Smith looks good. Like he does
look good.
Yeah, so I trust Geno Smith and the Seahawks. And then for the Broncos, it's basically just their defense. And apologies to the guys who I shit on their Broncos are going to be better than you think.
No.
Because
it's great. It's fun. It's the Broncos.
Total defense right now, third in the league. They're the fifth best rushing or passing defense and the 10th best rushing defense in the league. Their offense, when it comes to Bo Nix, he doesn't turn the ball over. He makes plays with his legs. He has a cannon for an arm. I mean, this whole Broncos thing, it's working. Like they just played their best game on Thursday night. This week they go against the Panthers. So this is going to be a 5-3 team going into the second half of the season. And again, you can go far in this league if you have an elite defense, which they do. Next up, Casino, my number 9 pick, as I stall to find it. Your team, not the Patriots, but the Commanders.
Still giving them hate.
They're just they're 5-2. I think they're both better than the Broncos and the Seahawks.
They're 5-2, and that one of their losses against the Ravens on the road.
Yeah, but again, my issues with them are Jayden Daniels. And the issues I have are what I've been talking about since the beginning of the season, which is he gets banged up every game, and now all of a sudden he's out and he's got an injury, and who knows if this is going to be his first one this year. Who knows how long this keeps him out. Again, it's a rib injury, and you always hear about rib injuries. It's like it never gets better. It just gets sore. So he's now just going to have compromised ribs for the rest of the season. And again, much like the Seahawks, their defense scares me. It's getting better. It was progressively getting better. Now it's kind of stuck in the middle, right around where the Seahawks are. So how long can they go with an injured quarterback? Mariota looked good for 1 week, but we'll see this week if he is fool's gold. And as an Eagles fan, I will tell you, I am scared rooting for Marcus Mariota because I've seen the worst of him.
He's fun to watch.
Next up, Casino, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers And basically, I think honestly they might be too low on my list, but I couldn't put them above anybody else on my list. Number
So what
8,
you're saying is they're right where they need to be.
yeah, basically. But I could, if somebody wanted to make a case, they were
No, they're
better
8
than
on both.
8.
They're 8 on both of our lists. That's where they stay.
Yeah. So they have, speaking of eighth, they have the eighth best total defense in the league. We both like Justin Fields, but I gotta admit, Russell Wilson gave him a little bit of a spark. So now all of a sudden they have Najee Harris as the running back. They have a formidable offense. George Pickens catches anything in his vicinity. Now they can do the deep ball. They do lose some of the dynamic kind of playmaking ability without Justin Fields. He's not, Russell Wilson is a shell of himself when it comes to running past the line of scrimmage. So, yeah,
Just
Pittsburgh Steelers.
just make him the backup running back or something,
That'd be
Fields.
fantastic. Fantastic. Next up, Casino, making their first appearance on my list. I feel like I've been sleeping on them, and then I finally awoken to the enigma that is the Green Bay Packers.
Thank you.
They are finally on my list. Last time it was an oversight, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not. And then all of a sudden we saw 3 weeks of just Jordan Love being Jordan Love and what they paid him for and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, again, their offense is dynamic. Josh Jacobs looks rejuvenated from when he was on the Raiders, and he just looked like an injury prone kind of former shell of himself. But turns out when you play for bad teams, you don't want to play that often. And then when you're on a good team, all of a sudden you're,
When you're
lighting it up.
protected.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a competent offensive line. Right now, the total defense of the Packers is 15th. And I really do think you need to be a top 15 defense to do anything in the playoffs. So dynamic
Have a
defense,
shot.
yeah, top 15 defense in the league, and you got a shot. And again, Love, we were concerned if he would bounce back from his injury, and he looks like he bounced back pretty good. But next up, Casino, from the Packers, we go to the AFC and we pick the Buffalo Bills. Again, the thing that scares me with the Buffalo Bills is we haven't seen them beat anybody good this season, and the only teams they have beat are bad records. But again, you only play who's on your schedule, and who has been on their schedule, they have a 5-2 record against. So they didn't look good against the Ravens. They didn't look good against the Texans. But I do think this is a prove it game for me this week against the Seahawks, because if they go into Seattle and just blow them out, again, that's maybe the farthest, if you're not going to an overseas game, the farthest away game you can have is going from Buffalo, New York to Seattle, Washington. So
just fly over Canada.
Yeah. So I do think that is potentially and probably my pick for best game of the week. Bills Seahawks.
We'll get to that. Calm down.
Yeah. And I do think for both those teams, it's a prove it game, because if Seahawks all of a sudden blow out the Bills like every other good team they've played, maybe the Seahawks are switching to number 6 with the Bills. But next up, Casino, especially on my list, next up, Casino, it is, oh my God, it's so spooky. JoJo Siwa. She's invaded our list, Casino, and she's doing the scariest thing possible. She's dancing. Oh my God, we got to get her out of here. So number 5 on my list,
dude,
is
that was a true terror. Oh my God.
Number 5 on my list, Casino.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, it is. The Houston
Now people know how I really feel about, without even me saying it, you know how I feel about that person. Ugh.
We can't even say her name because she's like Beetlejuice. You say it 3 times and she just comes back in. But Casino, we have, I just removed it from the thing. But my number, we're on 5? My number 5 team was the Houston Texans. And again, by all accounts, they should be higher on my list. But as we've mentioned ad nauseum at this point, something is off with the Texans. And I don't know what it is, but when you watch the games, you can feel something is off with them. And again, They have
How many times
a
did they say JoJo Siwa?
yeah, they say it too many times in the mirror, and now it's cursed their team. But they, that being said, they're 5-2 right now. They are what? They used to be top 5 in everything. They slid a little bit to where they're closer to top 10 in everything. So that scares me because again, they're winning games. Their record looks great, but their stats in almost every category keep falling back. And again, we shit all over Caleb Williams when he had less than 100 yards passing. The last game CJ Stroud played, he had 80 something yards passing in an entire football game. So something is off. I do think the
Yeah, it was
Colts
called
are
that
in a trap
offensive
game.
line protecting him, who allowed him to get sacked 4 times.
Yeah, but again, that all factors in. They also lost Nico Collins for a significant amount of time. So I just don't trust them. And again, if the Colts were led by Joe Flacco this week, I'd pick them straight up to beat the Texans. But because it's Anthony Richardson, I'm still like, maybe. The Texans will probably win, but still, I think that might be upset of the week. Next up, Casino. I have my number 4 team, the Minnesota Vikings. We talked about it even in a loss against the Lions last week. They still look pretty good, still came down to the wire, still look like they could hang with arguably the best team in the AF or in the NFC right now. Maybe if the Chiefs didn't exist, the best team in the NFL right now in the Detroit Lions. But yeah, with the Vikings, again, I like what Sam Darnold's doing right now. He's playing good. But if they did trade for Matthew Stafford, I feel like the Vikings would be nose to nose with the Chiefs, like you just said. So we'll see if that actually happens. I doubt it will, but if it does, we got to do an emergency podcast because that'll be huge. That'll be a big
We'll do it live. Fuck it,
we'll
we'll do it live.
we'll do it live. I pressed the wrong button. So next up, Casino. We go from number 4 to number 3,
You
and
sound parched. You need some apple juice?
I do need some more tea. We have number 3 is the Baltimore Ravens. It would be a toss up right now between the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions. But again, I've seen the Ravens lose in a weird game to the Raiders. So that left a bad taste in my mouth. Now, I know, again, that
But
was.
they were also a toenail away from taking the Chiefs to overtime and possibly winning that game. You know, they're the only team that has honestly gone blow for blow, I think, with the Chiefs, if my memory serves me right. So
Yeah.
that's why I have the Ravens at 2.
But again, I think the only thing separating the Lions and Ravens right now is the Ravens defense is not only not good, it's bad. They have a bad defense right now. It is 24th in the league in total defense. Again, I think you have to be top 15. The Lions aren't there yet. They're at
I don't think
18.
that. You wanna know why? My reasoning on that is Patrick Mahomes, even against mediocre defenses, is not playing well. That offense is not playing well. So you just need a team that can out-bruise and outscore Patrick Mahomes. And I think that is the Ravens with King Henry beating the shit out of him and
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson being dynamic enough to, do something in the play action and taking it to him. These are my reasons. Yes, you're right. The defense isn't that great, but if it's just mediocre enough to beat Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't had a good season, there you go. Like if that offense stays the same over in Kansas City, then that's why I think the Ravens have a real shot against them. That's why I put them 2. I
But see,
understand why you're putting them.
this is my counter to that. The way the Ravens have had to win all their games so far this season, they've had to score 28 points, 35 points, 41 points, 30 points, 41 points. So they've had to be an elite offense every week. And then the weeks where they don't get over 30, they've lost. They couldn't beat a bad Raiders team and they only scored 23 points. They couldn't beat the Kansas City Chiefs and they only scored 20 points. So again, when you see even the playoff game last year, that elite offense got 17 points and their defense couldn't stop the Chiefs. So it's one of those things where all it takes is one bad offensive game for this Ravens team, and they're not even losing. They're getting blown out because their defense can't stop anybody. So That's what I'm saying. They basically have to play perfect football from week 9 till the Super Bowl to be legit contenders. Now, I do think that's more likely than it's not. That's why I have them at number 3, but I still have question marks about all the AFC teams that are, supposedly contenders to the Chiefs. Next up, Casino, I just mentioned it. The Detroit Lions, I have them at number 2 for basically the reasons I just said. Their defense, uh, I wouldn't say significantly, but they're definitely better than the Ravens. Their offense is both pretty much dynamic as well. Only difference between the Ravens offense and the Lions defense is Lions have a great passing and running attack. I feel like Ravens have great running attack and pretty good passing attack, right? I don't think there's really any Ravens wide receiver right now that scares you. Mark Andrews is just gone. He's their starting tight end and he just does nothing. They don't give him targets. He doesn't get yards. I haven't seen a Mark Andrews sighting all season, so that scares me. But yeah,
they have the other tight ends. They have Likely. They have whoever the other guy is.
And then of course, number 1, until somebody beats them, until they aren't undefeated, it is, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. And this has been and again, we don't even have to say why. They have Patrick Mahomes, they have Andy Reid, they have probably the best defense in the league. They just got better with DeAndre Hopkins. How much better, we'll see. But that has been our week 8 power rankings. And really, when it comes to the show's power rankings, Casino, I didn't put anything together, but we pretty much have the same medley of teams kind of in that top 7. It's just basically where you want to put them. So, yeah.
Top 4 is the same, and then from there it's close.
Yeah.